My name's Megan, and this is the very first episode of my new podcast, We the Jaded. I don't know for sure that this is true, but I think I have a pretty good inkling that I am not alone in just feeling exhausted, okay? With the division, the noise, the way every conversation seems to turn and devolve into a fight. And being an American, I can't speak to the rest of the world's feelings on this, but it's just gotten to like an all-time high for sure. And every single day, it's just the same cycle. It's just one side about something screams about it, then the other side does, and oddly, things just keep getting worse. Who'd have thought? So I just don't think that this is how it has to be. I know it doesn't. And I know, I don't know how, but I just know that there's something bigger that's going on. And don't worry, I'm not about to go on some crazy conspiracy rant here, but we are fooling ourselves if we cannot come together as just regular Americans and acknowledge the fact that we are 100% just getting played all the time about everything. And it's not working. It is working in that it's gotten us to this point that we are divided as much as we are because of it, but it's not doing what it's meant to do for us. It's hurting us. And I don't really care what side of what issue you're on. It's hurting you. The way things are, the way it is. It is rigged against all of us for a reason. And that is why I started this. That's why I just came to the conclusion that I needed to not worry about it and not think of the judgment that I may receive from people in my everyday life or random strangers. I never really have cared too much about that, to be honest, but I couldn't just not say anything anymore. And we have technology, we have, the lovely World Wide Web, and now AI that's gonna probably just take over sooner than later. But this is an outlet for me, and I'm really hoping that what I'm having to say does hit a nerve with others. And if you aren't already thinking these things or feeling this way, maybe it's gonna awaken something inside of you to kind of think of things a little bit differently. And through that, we can have more conversations and just a better outcome for all of us, is my hope. I definitely don't have all the answers or any. To be honest, I don't know. I'm not some political strategist or constitutional lawyer. Like, I'm never going to pretend to be either of those things. I'm just a regular American. Like, I'm just a Midwestern mom. And saying it like that sounds kind of demeaning, but it's not. Because there's a lot of me. And there's a lot of you. And by that, I mean just normal people that are just want to live their lives and support their families and be happy and have kids that have, a future that's not this. It's not just filled with arguing and cornering people and boxing everyone up into little categories and deciding who's better than who and whose fault is what. There are more of us than there are of the people and the systems that are keeping us this way. And I know that sounds, or can sound, very, like I said at the beginning, like conspiratorial and maybe like crazy to some people. And then you're not going to be ready to hear all this or think about it or consider it. But I hope that something breaks through. And if I can even, just by helping myself, like thinking about starting this has helped me and my outlook on things a little bit better. But if I'm able to have these conversations and meet more people, have more discussions, and brainstorm, like, okay, then what can we do? It's a start. And that's all we can do, right? That's the only way to change anything, is to start trying. I think that a lot of people really don't want to admit that we're on the losing end of some grand scheme, that they intentionally keep us in these just never-ending battles over identity or culture or just whatever. That, I mean, they are important issues and they do mean a lot to some people. Some people have very strong stances and feelings about some things. But in like the grand scheme of life, it's not. We don't need to constantly be just picking at each other and deciding, who's right and who's wrong, and feeling personally attacked because someone else doesn't agree with us. They just know it works. That's all there is to it. And there are so many of us that have so little, even if we're not, I have a home, I have, food and a job, and things could definitely be worse. But I, like most of you, can't just control the world like at our whim because we have unlimited amounts of money to just keep doubling and quadrupling for all time on the backs of people like me and you. And there is a way that we can not live like that. And it is reaching out to each other, talking about things, and finally just committing to being like, this is not right. This is not what was intended when our country was created. It's not. I don't know how long it's been the way it is. I'm sure even longer than I think, but I refuse to believe that the founding fathers were like, yeah, this is it, we're gonna gain our freedom and start a whole new civilization of people on the other side of this giant water, away from our oppressive king, so that 200 some years from now, we can be right back there again, basically, just under the thumb of a handful of super rich billionaires and big media and politicians that seem like they hate each other, but really know that they're doing what they got to do to stay where they are, and they don't care where we are and how we're doing and what we want. And they're doing a good job because they're keeping us angry. They're keeping people angry and not questioning them. We're not questioning billionaires that are getting richer while working class people are stressed about food for their kids or their families, or paying their rent or their mortgage, or just even being able to save, just being able to have extra money left to actually put away and be saving to help progress yourself and be more successful in life. They don't care that we're not able to do that, okay? Because if they did, they could do something about it, and they would. And they don't. And I think we're lying to ourselves if we're like, oh, but they try and they can't because the other... No, they don't. They don't care. Not like it's meant to be. We don't need to be given anything. We don't need to live off the backs of the government and handouts or whatever. But we also don't deserve to just be strung along and turned on each other at the snap of a finger when someone somewhere decides, oh, no, they're getting a little too cozy, they're agreeing on too much, they're being too empathetic and compassionate towards each other. That's not going to work. So we can't do that. And then weird, something happens, something comes up, something is amplified for all of us to see it in a second because of social media and the internet now. Like, yes, bad, terrible things happen every day. And not because like some big boogeyman makes it all happen, but they do. It does. It doesn't necessarily mean that we all have to pick a stance or a side on that thing then and fight to the death over it for nothing. So that's basically where I'm at. That's how I'm feeling, and I felt that way for a while. And I don't really have people in my everyday life that I can just sit and vent and discuss these things with. So, hi, you're here. And I'm here to listen to you, to interact, and I really sometimes wish that I was able to separate myself from this and not think this way and not kind of be as cynical or nihilistic as I feel sometimes, but I know that it's people like me, not me specifically, but just people like me and that feel like I do and are finally willing to push the conversation and start talking about it and addressing it with other normal people. It's us that can really start true change. And instead of just constantly like not even asking the questions that we should, let alone demanding the answers that we deserve from the people that are in charge. It's people like me that will get that to finally happen. And like you. Because if we talk and just try not to fight as much, try to find the common ground where we can to have some sort of compromise or at least come to an understanding that we're all hurting, like maybe not like the worst that you could be, but is anyone right now truly happy? Or have they for a while? It doesn't seem like it. Because even when, your person wins, it's like, okay, for a tiny bit, like, oh, relieved that whatever, you were voting for, or whatever cause it was that you felt so strongly about, came out on top for that election or situation. That's cool for a bit, but it doesn't take too long after that for it suddenly to be, well, now you're upset because other people aren't happy that that happened. And why aren't they happy about it? And they should be, and they're not. And thank God it's not how they wanted it to be, because then this would be like that, and they're the problem with America. Like, that's not happiness. It's not it's not good. Doesn't feel good. And I really don't think that anyone truly is reaching like their potential and in the best place they can be when everything is the way that it is right now. So it's just kind of a long, drawn out thing that I was hoping to have a little more planned out. But if you are hearing any of this and it's resonating and you're like, you know what, I didn't think of it quite like that, or I don't agree with what you're saying, but I'll hash it out with you. I'm cool with that. Like, I'm all for healthy debate and conversation. I think that needs to be happening, okay? And I hope that you will stick around then. I'm not sure exactly which way I'm going to go with this, or how, or a schedule, or any of that yet, but I know that I am committed to just doing what I can, and right now this is what I can do. So like this, subscribe to my channel, follow We the Jaded on all socials, and yeah, I hope that we can do this together. And as just kind of gross and sad as it seems right now, or in the most recent times, I really do have hope and believe that it can be better. And it's up to us, but we can do it. So, thank you. Have a good night.